really hard having a relationship with Rocky.
Can you explain that?
I mean, you want me to tell me my personal experience? Or?
Yes.
He lies a lot. He pointed at me, and then that's when Elijah was like in between. He's like, I'll kill you right now. You know what I'm saying? If you brought a gun, use it then.
The man accusing hip-hop star A$AP Rocky of shooting him was nervous and soft-spoken. But was he believable? We're talking about the credibility of the alleged victim, A$AP Relli, as he prepares to retake the stand. And this morning, we're on Rihanna watch as the music icon and beauty brand billionaire is expected in that Los Angeles courtroom today. How her appearance could tip the scales of justice. Plus, today marks 3 years since Officer John O'Keefe's body was found in the snow. We're putting fresh eyes on little-known details about the victim in the case of defendant Karen Reed. Also this hour, opening statements are getting underway in the trial for defendant Colin Griffith. He's the 17-year-old who killed his father and now is accused of murdering his mother. It's all coming up next for you, plus much more right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you, and thanks for waking up with us here on Opening Statements. I'm your host, Julie Grant. This is the show where we get you all primed and ready to go for the big court day ahead. We got a great show planned, so let's get to it. Go ahead and grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. Oh, the best move the defense team could make is having Rihanna show up to court. Optics matter. My friends, optics matter. Seeing is believing. And Rihanna is one of the biggest stars in the whole wide world. Those jurors, they were already questioned about her. They know that she's Rocky's partner, and you can bet your bottom dollar they're wondering if she believes in his innocence. So they will see it, and they will believe that she does when she sits behind him at his trial today. My friends, just this appearance, she doesn't even have to say a word, just standing there, sitting there. This is going to go a long way. This is a case over an alleged assault with a firearm. And some jurors might be thinking that the allegations are scary and that the state of California may be painting the picture that Rocky's really a scary guy in real life. But if Rihanna's supporting him, how scary could he be, right? I am telling you that Riri's presence is going to tip the scales of justice. She influences music, she influences fashion, she influences beauty. And now her husband's jury will be next. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
I was saying, Mom, I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer. I'm just trying to peacefully leave or peacefully coexist and just figure something out. And she kept telling me to shut up and shut up. And when I wouldn't shut up, she hit me.
No, that's not what happened, Colin. That's not what happened. You never said you wanted to peacefully coexist.
I've been saying that.
This morning, the deadly son murder trial begins for defendant Colin Griffith. Openings get underway in Florida at 8:30 a.m., so we're going to go in there live as soon as they start. In Massachusetts, we've got the socialite manslaughter trial for Penny McGee. That one starts back up at 9 a.m., and in California, we've got opening statements resuming in the celebrity stylist murder trial for Monica Sementilli. That one starts at noon Eastern. The same courtroom where our top story is happening, the A$AP Rocky trial, same courthouse, I mean to say, different courtrooms. All right, so let's talk about this. So big day on Tuesday with the alleged victim, Terell Ephron, or A$AP Relli is his stage name. He's going to be back on the stand. Direct examination isn't done, so we haven't even gotten to the cross yet. There's more direct. Now, he claims that Rocky shot him during a fight in Hollywood back in 2021. He says his hand was injured and that he collected the 9mm spent cartridge casings from the scene. But Rocky's defense team claims that Relli is lying, alleging that he's jealous and trying to extort Rocky. So on the stand on direct, Relli describes his relationship with Rocky and what led up to the incident in question.
I had this one joke I call him Mr. 6 month man, because I was seeing every 6 months. You know what I mean? But then when you come around, it's like, it's fake. You know what I mean? That's what we supposed to be in this case happening for. So smoking mirrors.
Did you ever know him to have any guns? And I don't mean, now I want to kind of broaden it. So not that he would carry in public, but guns that he would have either at his house or anywhere else.
Not to my knowledge. I never physically seen any guns on Rocky.
What was the first thing that you saw him do with the gun?
Oh, he pointed at me, and then that's when Elijah was like in between, and he's like, "I'll kill you right now," or like whatever, like just was. And then I'm right behind Elijah, and I'm saying, "If you brought a gun, use it then." Like you brought a gun for.
So is this alleged victim credible? Whose story makes the most sense? And what's going to happen today if Rihanna's in the courtroom? We're going to talk about it all with our power panel now. Let's welcome them in. In the studio with me, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. I call him Noah Pines. He's high profile in Atlanta where he practices. I want to welcome in jury consultant, author, and human behavior expert Susan Constantine, as well, and entertainment commentator Holland Reed. Great to have you all. All right, so let's start with Relli's credibility. Noah, as a lawyer who's been on both sides of the courtroom, how's this guy coming off to you?
I think he's coming across believable. He's not trying to over-exaggerate. And, Julie, what do we have in this case? We have video. And the video definitely corroborates his story. Whether it's a real gun, a prop gun, it's a gun, it's in his hand, it's in the defendant's hand, and it adds a bunch of credibility to the story.
I appreciate the insight, Noah. You know, there's two competing stories, and both sides are standing firm, for sure. The defense saying this is a prop gun, fired blanks, that he's making it up, he scraped his own knuckles, somehow collected his own spent cartridge casings, but he's holding firm that this really did happen with a real firearm. So how can the jury potentially be influenced? Oh, I don't know. Maybe when Riri comes to court today. Susan Constantine, this is where I want to bring you in, please. And feel free to disagree with me. Just my opinion I'm sharing in my opening statement today. But do you think that Rihanna can tip the scales here in any way?
Yes. In fact, when I heard you do your opening statements, I'm going, Julie just took all my perfect points of view.
I didn't mean to do that.
That's okay. Yeah. So anyway, yes, I mean, she is an influencer. The minute she walks in that courtroom, all eyes are going to be on him and not focused on Rocky. So the fact that jurors most likely will be starstruck, especially those younger generation jurors, I think this is going to be a real distractor. And also, I think it could tip the scales because naturally people vote towards people that they like and that they believe. And I do think that by having her in the courtroom was a great move for the defense. And I think that this is also an issue for the state.
Right. You know, good point, Susan. You know, in a follow-up, do you think the state may not want her there?
Yeah. I wouldn't. If I were the state, I certainly would not, because number one, all the publicity and the attention that she's going to get is going to distract away from their case. And so, you know, they're going to be, the jurors, it's just very difficult for the jurors to kind of switch gears and focus on what they're hearing when they know they've got a megastar in there. Of course, they're going to be distracted.
Right, Susan. And so let's talk a lot about what the entertainment world is saying now. So we know people all over the world are watching this case. We've got viewers tuning into us that may not necessarily be true crime aficionados that are like, oh my gosh, I got to see this trial. Holland Reed, you're an entertainment commentator, an actress, photographer. I mean, you really do it all. Are people saying that Relli is acting here? Is he putting on a show, or are people believing him?
The consensus that I've gotten is he is taming it down. He's taming the entertainment persona down to make himself more believable. If you want to call that acting, so be it. That's what he does for a living. He is an entertainer. But I definitely think he's making himself relatable. And a lot of people are saying he's so much more tame and well-spoken when delivering his testimony. So I think that's going to work well in his favor.
Right. Yeah, he definitely was, you know, as you noted, well-spoken, you know, soft-spoken. He was kind of gentle in the delivery. He didn't come off as harsh or angry or bitter, you know, and he's telling this story, and we know the defense is saying that he's a liar. Joe Tacopina is pulling no punches, saying this guy is, you know, he's jilted, he's jealous, you know, he's somebody that just wants to take money from Rocky. Holland, what is Rocky's reputation, you know, in the industry? Is he known as a good guy, or is he known as, you know, Mr. 6 month, like Relli described him, like, oh, he you know, set his friends to the side and calls every 6 months since reaching fame?
You know, this is typical in Hollywood. You start reaching moments in your career and not everyone can go with you. And I think that's where the feud kind of has begun. A$AP Rocky is right now, he's a father. He's the father to Rihanna's children. I think that's why she's going to be there. He's a good guy. He's looked at as a loving husband, a partner. He's a successful artist. He collaborates with other successful artists. He does not have this reputation of being a thug, some hardened criminal, and neither does Rihanna, which again, to everyone's point, her being there, even though she is not Betty Homemaker, she's not Stepford Housewives, she's still a woman, a mother that trusts this man to be the father of her children. And also her being the megastar that she is, this was her choice of a partner, so it couldn't have been that big of a bad of a mistake to choose him. So I think he's got a pretty good reputation, and her being there will kind of solidify that as well.
Right. I'm with you, Holland. Yeah, I think it answers a question for jurors who might think, okay, he may look, you know, handsome and fashionable on the red carpet, but is he a thug in real life? Would he really do this? Noah, tell me, when it comes down to the evidence, we know it's all about the gun, right? The gun that's missing. The defense is saying it's a prop. The state's saying, oh, no, it's real. The spent casings are real. It's just not here, but doesn't mean we still can't prove this. What do you think about the evidence? Does the state have a proof problem?
They have it on video. Where is the gun? I mean, that's the big question. And kind of let's go back to Rihanna. This is day 3 of the trial, right? Why is she only showing up on day 3? Now, you can be like, well, day 1's jury selection. Well, maybe day 2 went really bad for the defense, and somebody made a call to Rihanna and said, you need to get here because you need to sway or tip the scales. It might be a little bit too late to tip the scales. If she's Julie, if you're really supporting the father of your children, aren't you there from day 1 and sitting through the jury selection and sitting through the entire case? Of course you are. So it may be a little bit too late.
That's a really great point, Noah. Thank you for bringing this up. And Susan, you know, you're the expert in the jury consulting work. I want to toss this one to you because I've thought about this. I've been asked this question by people asking me about I'm getting stopped like when I'm out being asked about this case. And one of them is, well, if you were on the defense side, would you want her there? I said yes. And they said, well, the whole time, part of the time. I said, the bookends, the beginning and the end. She doesn't need to be there every day. What do you think, Susan? Noah, you're saying the whole time. What do you say, Susan?
That's you're right on point. The beginning and the end, right? Because the middle part really is not as significant. So just even when you're a public speaker, right? You're going to throw out your beginning opening statement, and then you're going to close really hard. Having her there, it's the most memorable. So whatever you say at the beginning, you close it up at the end, it's going to stick. It's definitely much more memorable. The other thing is too, Julie, I don't hypothesize because we don't know what we don't know. We don't know if she's already working. We don't know if she's already got other obligations, or is she able to be there? And also, is she able to have security there every single day? So there are a lot of things to consider why she's not there every day.
Sure. Susan, I want to show you video. Most of our viewers know this. For anybody new to the show, Susan's also a body language expert. And we want to know, do you think A$AP Relli looked nervous on the stand? We have a little bit of video here. Yeah. And there's a little bit of movement, as we can see. What do you think?
So this is what we call, it's a psychophysiologically, it's really what's happening. You know, he's getting hot, right? He's getting his, and this is all part of the heart rate, the perspiration, all of that, because there's lots of anxiety. Now, there would be anxiety when he's actually on the stand. You would expect him to be that way. The blowing out air, this is a very important, you know, he's in a high stress situation. The things is that I looked for, there was a lot of what we call shrugging. There were thumb shrugs, there were hand shrugs, there were shoulder shrugs, there was shrugging almost in his forehead of uncertainty. I saw uncertainty, 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 uncertainty. And I saw that in his facial expressions and body language. And for me, when I can do that, I can cluster it together in a very short period of time. That is really, for me, a reason for cause.
Oh, this is fascinating hearing you say that, Susan. I wonder if you're going to get a call from Joe Tacopina and the defense team if they see this segment this morning. Awesome analysis from you all. Again, this case will pick up this afternoon. Relli's not done. He'll be back on the stand. We will bring it to you live. And guess what? Susan, Noah, and Holland are all sticking around for what's trending in true crime. Here's what we've got.
so I came to live with her after my dad died. And since then, there's just been kind of times when things boil over with her.
We've got opening statements starting off in about 30 minutes from now in the Deadly Son murder trial. We're going to go there live when they begin. But after this break, we're talking about the battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. It is heating up. And guess what? We're going back in time when these two first started communicating. We're going to show you the flirty text messages. That's right, flirty messages. And talk about the trial date that's just been set.
Grieving widow or mastermind behind a murder.
Monica Cementelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Famed celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cementelli.
Prosecutors say she and her lover killed Fabio to collect a big life insurance policy.
The defense may say she's a bad woman, but she wouldn't be involved in a murder.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story, but will there be a twist that no one sees?
The Celebrity Stylist Murder Trial, today, only on Court TV.
As hard as this choice is, we break the pattern. Or the pattern breaks us.
The ongoing public feud between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni is what's trending in true crime this morning as text messages between the It Ends With Us co-stars before things took a turn for the worst are now coming to light. Take a look at this snippet. This is from May of 2023 on the eve of filming. Lively writes, quote, "Thank you for your collaboration. I'm really proud of what we're doing." Baldoni responds, "I like sentimental Blake." Lively writes, "Never met her." Then, later that month, Baldoni writes, quote, "I'm not going to tell you that you were amazing because you tease me for being so sentimental, but you were amazing today." Lively writes back, "Thank you. I do appreciate it. I'm just a ball buster, but it means a lot to me. I care a great deal and always want to deliver. You were terrific. I'm proud of everything we did today, but really every day." So, this morning, we're wondering, how do these seemingly pleasant, maybe some would characterize them as even flirty, text messages end with dueling lawsuits? Let's bring back in our power panel. Noah Pine, Susan Constantine, and Holland Reed all here. Holland, let me start with you. What do you think of these two characters?
Oh, my, Julie, where do I start with this? My goodness, I promise you, I've been watching this and following it. You've got a megastar in her own right, essentially now officially the gossip girl with all the gossip she's been in the news about with all of this. And then you have this producer who is a star in his own right, but them working together on this film that was absolutely a blockbuster, made over $350 million. And now it's being overshadowed by this multi-million-dollar, over $600 million lawsuit. I think Blake Lively is been painted in a very bad light for many different reasons, for the way that she was so lighthearted about the press tour and didn't really take the domestic violence aspect of this movie seriously. But then Jason Baldoni, the same thing with him. He considers himself a feminist. He was taking the lead, making sure we talked about it. And now this being about assault, this being about these two people, are we flirting, not flirting? Did it go too far? Was this about writing discrepancies? It's a mess, and it's only going to get messier.
Oh, I like what you're saying, Holland. Yeah, no, agreed. And so how do we go from where these messages were to these suits? You know, there were some in our newsroom who think that it got flirty and maybe partners, you know, got wind of what was being exchanged, and then suddenly it turned from, oh, I really didn't want those messages. Susan Constantine, what do you say about this, please?
First of all, I think this is a frivolous lawsuit, in my personal opinion, and professional. I've listened to everything on both sides, watched the movie. I think what's happening here is just what you stated. These are two people that somewhere along the line feel like one another kind of crossed that bridge. But then what they're doing is being exacerbated by emotion. So their emotions are just really, really running high, and I think that it's overriding their logic, and it's going to have an impact on their career. So as far as I'm concerned, when I'm listening to this and watching everything that has been going on, I think that even reading the text messages, I just think it's just nondescript. I don't see anything in it that is really something I want to sink my teeth into. And you know, Julie, I pointed out, I just don't see it here in this case. I think they ought to go to mediation, get this over with, and get on with their careers.
Are you a mediator, Susan? Because you should be.
I am.
I think.
No, I am.
Honestly,
I'm a
goodness, I didn't know that
mediator,
about you, but I could see you doing that.
I'm a family mediator and a Supreme Court county mediator. Yes, ma'am, I am.
They need to call you. Call Susan Constantine. Blake, Justin, if you're watching, call Susan. We'll figure it all out. Noah Pines, last but not least, want to get your take on these two.
Well, I mean, I think it started with Blake attacking Justin, and then, you know, he has the receipts, Julie. We always talk about, do you have the receipts? And the receipts are these text messages, and they're bringing them out. I actually know his attorney, Brian. Brian and I went to summer camp together a long, long time ago.
No kidding.
He was an incredible competitor then. I know he's an incredible lawyer, and I don't think they're backing down. I think that this case does need to get resolved. I don't think that, I mean, this is a case of rich people problems, right? So, you know, are they going to be able to sit down and resolve it? I don't know, because there's a lot of egos involved.
Right. No, I want to ask you more about your friend, his lawyer. So a trial date was set on Monday. The New York judge set it for March 9th, 2026. And the judge also moved up what was going to be an initial conference to next week. So they'll be heading to court as soon as next week. The judge told the lawyers to be prepared to address complaints about pretrial publicity and also attorney conduct. And then in a new filing, Blake Lively is requesting a deposition of a man she claims was central to turning online opinion against her during the film's release and promotion. So we're wondering, is this case actually going to make it to trial? And if so, how's that trial going to look? Noah Pines, I want to start with you, please.
You're going to have so much stuff, and the stuff is all this, you know, witnesses, text messages, are there PR firms involved? And really, you have to boil it down to what this case is about. But I think that it's going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of fighting, and eventually the case will get resolved.
I hear you. So you think it'll stop short of a trial?
I do. I don't think that either of them win. You know, this is, I guess Johnny Depp won in the Heard versus Depp case.
Yes, you took the words right out of my mouth.
He won. I think that when both people can lose, and your job is to be in the public light, and that's your job, you know, there's a risk there. I mean, they're not going to jail, but they obviously have career things that they can lose.
Sure. And no, I'm glad you brought up Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, because that's the case that came to mind right away. And for so many months prior to trial, we were looking at the filings, and we at Court TV were thinking, oh, this is going, even though people in the public are saying, oh, doubt that they're going to actually want this to go. No, you saw Johnny Depp wanted to have the trial. He seemed to enjoy it, didn't he, Holland Reed?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, like he just said, they're just playing chicken at this point. Nobody's backing down. Blake Lively has hired a PR marketing manager expert, and Justin has hired a crisis manager. And by the way, they did not show up at the Golden Globes together. So everyone is sitting in their corners and literally just playing chicken, waiting for this, I think, to be mediated. They don't want this to go to trial. It's just going to get messier. It's going to get more embarrassing. And if they were flirting and there was some type of inappropriate relationship on set, it will come out. So I do see this absolutely kind of being dissolved before it has to go any further.
Yes, yes. Underscoring what you just said, Holland. Yep. Was there something going on that was, you know, borderline questionable? Did anybody get upset? I love your comments there. Thank you for that. Susan, last but not least, kind of take us home on this. Do you think we're going to see a trial?
I would hope not. I just think it'll fizzle right before the end. And I'll tell you what, I love the name of the movie. It's because it's called End With Us. And I think that's what's going to happen if they don't get it together.
No, I love it. I love your comment there. Perfect way to end the segment. You know, it's got to end you two. Call Susan Constantine, mediate your case, and save yourself a lot of trouble. Because these two aren't like Johnny Depp. They're not. You know, I can't see them enjoying this trial. But we certainly would if it happened. So we'll keep everybody posted on next week's conference. I've got to say goodbye to Susan Constantine and Holland Reed. Love having you brilliant ladies on the show. Thank you for everything. Noah Pines is coming with us and want you to do the same at home. This morning, we're being a voice for victims. We're remembering Officer John O'Keefe because today marks exactly 3 years since he was killed. And we have a live look for you at the courtroom in Florida, opening statement set to begin soon in the deadly son murder trial for Colin Griffith. We'll be right back. It's been exactly 3 years since Officer John O'Keefe was killed. And if you don't know his name off the top of your head, you're likely not alone. You see, many people remember the name Karen Reed, but far fewer know the man she's accused of murdering. But on this show, we remember the victim in this case, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. And what better way to do that than to hear from John's best friend, Brendan Kane. What you're about to hear is part of an interview from an episode of M. William Phelps's podcast, 34 Fairview Road.
What did he talk about, growing up that he wanted to be, that he wanted to do? Did he have plans, or was he just kind of riding the wave?
Growing up, Johnny always wanted to be a police officer. That was always his goal. As early as junior high, I would say that seed was planted. He was laser focused on achieving that goal.
Was that a family thing? Was he following the blue blood of the family?
Yeah, his grandfather was a police officer. I think that's really the genesis of the goal, but it was something that was definitely related to his family.
And now we're so pleased to welcome on the show M. William Phelps. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He consulted for the show Dexter. He was also the writer and executive producer for the #1 true crime podcast franchise, Paper Ghosts. And he's here to tell us a little bit more about the friends of John O'Keefe's that he interviewed. And I'm going to call him Matt for our interview. M. William Phelps, wonderful having you on the show. And I'll call you Matt as we talk. Thank you for coming on to talk about this. As you know, this is an important day for the O'Keefe family, and you learned a lot about John as you went on this endeavor to tell the real story of what happened the night that he was killed. What did you take away from what his friends shared with you?
Well, the first thing I would say about today is that I just want to acknowledge that it's a rough day for the family, obviously, and I don't speak for the family, but I can just imagine. John O'Keefe, I didn't know a lot about John when I went into this, and talking to people who knew him very personally, I just got the idea that he was just this happy guy who everybody loved. He was a very positive guy. And what struck me was how selfless he was. Remember, his sister dies, and then 2 months later, his brother-in-law dies. And so John takes his niece and nephew and raises them. And that right there, I think, tells you all you need to know about who John O'Keefe is. That he gave up his bachelorhood, if you will, and in part, as you hear in the podcast, he gave up basically his career goals, to take a more 9-to-5 job in the police department so he could be there for the children.
Right, Matt. A hero in more ways than one. A hero putting his life on the line every day for the people in his community, and also stepping in to be that hero for his niece and nephew at home after the passing of their parents. Tell me,
sure,
when you think about what his legacy is, what do you think it is, please, Matt?
Unfortunately, right now, it's hard to talk about legacy, because what we're involved in right now is, and I think by nature, murder trials become about the defendant, right? I mean, that's just what happens. We're reporting on the case, and the defendant is on trial. However, John's legacy should be of a guy who gave of himself to everybody around him. I mean, there was not one person I spoke to, and I spoke to a lot of people who had anything bad to say about this guy. Generally, when I interview about murder victims or victims in general, I can always find one or two people, but in this case, John was just so well liked by everybody because he was that guy. And in some of the videos of 3 years ago last night, we can see as he walks into the waterfall bar. We can see him put up his hands like this to go hug people and smile. I mean, that's the kind of guy that he was. He was this guy that, you know, people felt comfortable around. He made you feel comfortable. He loved, and he was loved by so many. And I hate to see what this has become about. You know, I've never seen a murder victim or his family dehumanized like I have seen in this case. And that is just, you know, a very sad part of all of this.
Right, Matt. And thank you for mentioning that. It's stunning, it's sickening, and you're right. It's like nothing we've ever seen. I mean, you are very well known and very highly regarded in the true crime community. You've been there for many years. Some may say you've seen it all. You've written about it all. You've won awards. And then you see this. And I remember just being shocked, like I couldn't believe my eyes that his family was being attacked by mobs of people who support the defendant. In what world does this work out?
It baffles the mind. It really does. I could not believe, and I apologize for laughing, but it's laughable. I could not believe this when I started getting into this. When I started to look at the amount of just video that's out there of what these people have done to not only John O'Keefe's immediate family, his mother and father and brother, but all the players involved, the witnesses, you know, how they were mocked and yelled at and screamed as they walked into the courtroom to testify in a murder trial. Some of the names, the vulgar names that Peggy O'Keefe, John's mother, has been called. I don't understand what that gets anybody by doing that, by dehumanizing, again, the victim's family. I mean, this woman lost her daughter and then her son.
Right.
And she's called names on the way into the courtroom to support the prosecution of the person she believes is responsible for her son's murder. Which is anybody's right? So it really boggles the mind.
It does. And I encourage everyone to listen to 34 Fairview Road. It is excellent. You have no horse in this race, and something that you definitely bring up in your podcast and had uncovered as you really got into this was that defendant Karen Reed isn't condemning any of this by these supporters of her. She's not condemning the horrible attacks in person, online, on, you know, her boyfriend's family members and loved ones. Her boyfriend who was killed, her boyfriend who's the victim, and the family who's now victims. What does that say to you?
I mean, Julie, that is such an excellent point you bring up. You know, this could all be stopped, or could have been stopped right away if Karen Reed, who said she loved John, right? Karen Reed, her attorneys came out and said, listen, stop it. Everybody just stop this, okay? Let us defend Karen, and you keep your mouth shut about the victim and the victim's families. But nobody ever did that. You know, in fact, as Brendan Kane, John's best friend, says in episode 10 there in the podcast, he says, Karen Reed, in fact, did the opposite. She, you know, and he uses the word dehumanize, where, you know, if you listen to some of the tape, she calls John a buffalo on a prairie, you know, his dead body. She never comes out and says how sorry she is, or shows any empathy, emotion, which is striking to me. It just, you know, it became all about her.
Right.
You know, it became all about her, and that's the sad part of this. And I just I'm baffled every day that I pick up the newspaper or turn on, you know, social media, which I try to stay off of.
Right, you're a smart man. Well, you're a busy man too, man. Not like you have time for all of that. You're busy podcasting, winning awards, all of that. And to kind of put a button on it, you know, and we'll talk more as we get closer to trial. As you said, you know, and as John's friends noted, not only is defendant Karen Read not condemning this disgusting behavior and these attacks, but it raises a question, well, how did all this originate? How did all of this get started? You know, she's not stopping it, but, you know, that's a conversation for another day, isn't it? Isn't it, Matt? We'll talk some more. Everybody, listen to his podcast. We are out of time. 34 Fairview Road. And also, that's not the only one. My gosh, he's got Crossing the Line. And then his #1 true crime podcast, Paper Ghosts. So be sure to check all of that out. Matt, we will have you back very soon. Thank you for everything, and thank you for sharing, most importantly, the legacy of John O'Keefe that you've learned through your investigative work, that it's one of giving, that he was a selfless man and officer,
Yes,
and he gave to everyone every single day.
And he didn't take.
Right.
He only
That's
gave.
rare. What a gem of a human being. And we're going to continue to remember him on this show as he's what this case is about. And William Phelps, we'll see you soon. Thank you for everything this morning.
Thank you, Julie.
And my
Thanks for
friends at
having
home,
me.
of course, want to let you know that if you're interested in the next pretrial date before Karen Read's second murder trial, it's going to be on Friday. We know that the prosecution is making a motion to the court. They've already filed it to exclude the defense's cell phone expert. Why? Because the cell phone company, Celebrate, has said that it would have been impossible for Jennifer McCabe to have Googled how long to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m., that it happened at 6:30 a.m. So they're trying to exclude that expert, and we expect to hear arguments from both sides about it on Friday before Judge Cannoni, and Court TV will be there with our cameras. Now, as we go to break, we want to remember the victim. We're being a voice for victims on this show always, and today especially, we want to remember Officer John O'Keefe. He served for 16 years in the community where he grew up in Boston. He had so much life ahead of him, and he was gone far too soon. We thank him for his service and his legacy of giving. We'll be right back.
She thinks I'm gonna kill her, and then I want to kill her.
Do you? A troubled teen who fatally shot his own father
now stands accused for the murder of his mother.
I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer.
Was it an argument that led to a tragic accident?
Or a fit of rage that ended in cold-blooded murder?
Everybody that's special to him in his life is dead. The Deadly Son murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Welcome back to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. We're getting ready for the trial to begin with Colin Griffith. We're calling this one the Deadly Son murder trial. He is 17 years old. We know he already killed his dad. Now he's accused of murdering his mother. Let's go into the courtroom. We're going to hear the questioning going on with the judge.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
You heard what your lawyer just said?
Yes, sir.
I recall that during the hearing regarding the 911 call that was placed in this case, that you asked to be excused from the courtroom. And is that your desire when it's played during the trial?
Yes, sir.
You understand you have the absolute right to be present for the entirety of these proceedings, including the presentation and publication of evidence before the jury. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Have you had an opportunity at some point in the past to listen to that recording?
No, Your Honor, but I don't have a desire to.
You understand you have the right to examine all of the evidence that's being presented against you.
Yes, sir.
And you do not wish to do that, and you do not wish to be present when it's published if it's received in evidence during the trial.
Yes, sir.
Have you discussed this with your lawyers thoroughly?
Not thoroughly, but I don't think they have any objection. If you have an objection to it, I will set up the return.
Judge, we have not discussed it, for hours or anything, but we have discussed it multiple times, and Colin has been consistent in his wish to not be present while it is played. I feel confident that he's making an informed decision.
If you have some questions for your lawyer or some additional concerns about whether or not you should be present when it's published, I'll give you that time right now.
Do you want to go into that and talk real quick?
All right. Did you let Mr. Hertel know just to hold them in the hallway for just a moment?
Or if it's probably not going to be played before the break, then
All right.
break.
That's a good idea.
All right, so this is a little weird. So why the judge is advising Colin Griffin of his rights is because Colin there wants to get out of the courtroom when the 911 call is played. And so the court wants to ensure he understands he has the right to be present, that this is an informed decision. This is also a little weird, so let's talk about it. We're going to bring in high-profile criminal defense attorney. He's also former prosecutor Noah Pines. Noah, what do you think of this kid and what he's trying to do here?
Strange. I've never had that happen in any case I've handled. I've never seen it where it's like, I don't want to be here. I've seen victims and victims' families leave the courtroom for portions of the trial, but never a defendant be like, I don't want to be here for a part of it.
Right.
And the most frustrating thing about being a lawyer is when you have conversations with your clients, and you have, obviously they've had conversations. It's like, you know how it's gone. You're like, all right, and you're sure you want to, yes. Any other questions? No. And then you get in court and they're like, yeah, we really haven't discussed it. And judge is like, do you need more time? They're like, yeah, we need more time. And then you go in the back and it's the same conversation. We've already talked about this. Yeah, I know, but I just got nervous or whatever. And like, there's nothing more frustrating because it looks like you're not on top of your game. At least for me, because I've already had all these conversations with my clients.
Exactly. Great points. Tell me, Noah, do you think this could be, dare I say it, the defendant trying to strategize and make the jury think, oh, poor me, I can't hear this call, my tender ears, because his story is that his mama fell on the knife that pierced her whole neck.
Accidentally, right?
So he says.
Right.
What do you think?
I don't see as his attorney, I don't see why it's beneficial for him not to be there.
Yeah.
You're not denying that she died. You're not denying that you were there. You're just saying it was an accident. You're going to have a lot of problems with that other evidence coming in about killing not your father, because you're not allowed to say your father, but somebody else in self-defense, and how that's going to come in. We kind of go back to the top of the hour with Rihanna. It's a trial. You got to be there from start to finish, not bookends. If you're the defendant, you got to be there from start to finish. You got to confront all the evidence, Julie.
No, it's going back to Rihanna. I'll tell you why, my friends, because during the breaks, he's insistent she needs to be there every single day, and I respect his opinion.
And as a defendant, you need to be there the whole.
As a defendant, you got to be there the whole time. For sure, this kid does. Rihanna, I love you, Noah, but I disagree with you.
Well, I think if he leaves, the state can bring that out. That's his conduct during the trial.
Yeah. Well, so this is another thing. You're right. The state will hone in on that in close.
Yeah.
Once they present all the evidence about what he allegedly did, then they're going to say, and by the way, he wanted to try to make himself a victim here by leaving the courtroom in the open, right?
And if he testifies, let's assume he testifies, because you almost have to in a self-defense, accident. It's not self-defense, it's an accident case. You got to get your story out there. So if he has to testify, it's coming in.
Oh, this is going to be a good one. In minutes, we're going to see the opening statements. Noah, you got to get off to court. I know we're going to let you go. Thank you for everything today. Noel Pross, Noah Pines here with us, and thank you for being with us at home. You can watch this episode again if you want. You can share it. We would love if you would do that. Share it with your friends. Go to courttv.com to do that.